three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to Teaching Crypto. Please hit that like, subscribe, bell notification. As always, super chats in the store are available. And one of our favorite tokens, MrFOMO, that we like for this bull run, Chainlink, has gone berserk, up over 27% this week. Yeah, absolutely. Great timing there. And this is one we talked about, and I've talked about that this is going to recover quickly. You remember just a couple weeks ago, I talked about that. When Bitcoin recovers, this is one you're going to have. And I didn't expect this early here, as we've gone from 15 to 18 in a matter of less than 24 hours here. It just shows you that maybe some of these altcoins don't need Bitcoin right now, as Bitcoin is stabilizing between 41 and 43 right now. You know, we've been talking about waiting for a low or waiting for a move. Well, this one has picked up steam. Now, I want to warn our viewers that there is significant sell pressure around 20. Doesn't mean it can't go over that resistance, but if you're looking to buy, beware that 20 is kind of a place right now. But again, this is one this year that I really like to go over 100. I know you don't like predictions. I really like to have this in my portfolio. And the beauty is, if you bought Chainlink at 14 or 15 or even 13, if you got Bitcoin at 38K, now you've got some great decisions. Do I take profits now and then come back in, or do I just ride this and take profits? The next time to really take profits, we've talked, is April leading up to the halving. You've got some great decisions to make here, as this one's got great potential the next few months.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, I actually got a text from my brother before the show about Link, and I would say that this is probably a huge psychological level at 20. The fact that Bitcoin isn't running in tandem with this makes 20 another huge resistance level, I think, not just for psychological purposes, but I think that not locally, but I think because of history, that's a huge level of support and resistance. And so I think it's going to have a hard time breaking through that 20 ceiling. I'd love to be wrong on that. We're big fans of Link on this channel. We always have been. And like you said, you have been talking about Link and waiting for Link to pump for weeks now. I think this is something you've been talking about even for months.
We've been talking about it in the summer when it was below 10.
Yeah. And so I think that, and that was a great price to be grabbing Link at, wasn't it?
Single digit links.
And yes. So, and even though I don't think that this is going to break through 20 in the short term, I think that this is a great sign for this bull run for Link. And I think if you just hang on to this, if you're not going to swing trade it, or you're not going to play the ups and downs, if you're just going to hang on to this, you're going to be in a good position, because this is a good project.
I would be shocked if we didn't hit 30 this spring. Be shocked on Link. I mean, that's my bare minimum here. So again, we might consolidate in the 16, 17, 18 range. And whenever Bitcoin does decide to make its big move, we think that's March. But we'll talk about this later on the show. We might be wrong, and it might come earlier than we expect. Link is going to be a stable one that you're going to want to have. Now, we've talked about this rule before, and for entertainment purposes only, thank you for joining us, Tennessee. Thanks to all of you guys. Anytime you guys share the show, we greatly appreciate it. It's not what you buy, MrFOMO. It's a lot of times when you buy. And I've been looking at a project that we haven't mentioned. I think it's almost been a couple of months on the show that we mentioned this. This one's gone down 30% since the Bitcoin dip, and it hasn't recovered so much. And that leads me to believe that when Bitcoin does show strength above that 44K, we'll talk about that 44K and why it's important later in the show. This one might be a prime candidate to really do some damage. And I think right now you're getting a really good entry, and that's H-bar. Now, H-bar right now is below 7 cents. However, when things were hopping, we got just below that 10-cent mark. Okay. And you can see here, MrFOMO, this month alone, we've gone down from 9 cents all the way down. So I just see with a 28% dip this month, I know this thing will recover. I'm confident this thing will be well over 10 cents again in the spring, not financial advice. This one right now, if you picked it up today and Bitcoin did retrace and this one went down, let's say to 5 cents, that's okay because I think you're going to be able to sell this in the double digits above 10 cents, not financial advice this April. So, in crypto, it's not always when you buy, but when you buy it. Obviously, who would not like to go back and buy Solana below 20 in the summer right now? You'd be sitting very, very pretty, right now, just deciding when you want to take your profits. Well, right now, H bar seems primed to be a great buy, and you're getting a great value here. And unlike Solana and Chainlink, big boys that have kind of held their standing, this one to me is prime target here for a great entry.
Yeah, I think Hedera is something that I think it's always something that I'm considering. And I think, like you said, because it's down versus some of the other tokens versus what Bitcoin has been doing, you're right. It's a prime time to buy it. It's not what you buy, but when you buy is something that you always say on this show. And this looks like a prime time to buy this one. The one thing that I like about today's show is the diversity of the tokens. We're not just talking about L1s, L2s. We brought up an Oracle play. We brought up Hedera, which is a hash graph. It's not necessarily a blockchain. And so there's some diversity in this as well. And that's something that I always like to preach for your portfolio. You don't want to be locked into one sector of the market. Just like in regular investing, you don't want to be locked into one sector of the market. You need to hedge your investments. And so just providing that kind of diversity to your portfolio will give you a little bit of an edge going into the bull run. And I think especially in the crypto market, if we're seeing some of these projects become detached from Bitcoin and run on their own, I think it's really important to add that diversity aspect to your portfolio, because we're going to start seeing a situation where the market isn't necessarily dependent on Bitcoin for these projects to run. We're already seeing that with Solana and Chainlink and some of the other projects that we've seen out there. And so it's important that we are, like you said, buying when these things are down, but it's also important that we're looking around at these projects and building a more diverse portfolio. That way, when they do run, we've got a little bit of a bag.
Absolutely. You don't want to chase pumps because things are going to run over the next year and a half at different times. We've talked about this time frame, and we want to make sure our audience is educated. Really, we're looking at this bull run lasting until either May of 2025 or November right before Thanksgiving of 2025. Those are the two dates right now, with all the data that you could gather, that would be the best estimate. And we're looking for things full on bull run, right? I'm thinking March. And we'll talk about this now for a little bit. I'm thinking we're going to go crazy in March. There will be a dip after this ETF thing does not happen for ETH. That's my prediction in May, late May into June, and then towards late summer, you're going to see things skyrocket. And this fall is, if you're buying now, you're going to have some gigantic, not financial advice, opportunities to sell and make significant profits. Like HBAR, for example, well into double digits. Chainlink will be nowhere near 20. We talk about resistance at 20. It's going to be nowhere near 20 this fall. So if you can buy these now and hold them into the fall, and again, I maybe wouldn't recommend that because I think there's going to be a great opportunity to sell in the spring, in the late spring, especially here. Great chances. But Mr. FOMO, you still kind of hold tight that you're thinking right now, if you want to pull up the Bitcoin chart, that we're still looking for a dip in February. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, mine is largely based on history, and I don't have that spreadsheet up. Otherwise, I'd show you the history that I'm talking about. But mine is largely based on history here. And I'll pull up the all-time chart, but I still think that we are going to have a dip about a month out from the halving based on history, month to 2 months, which puts us pretty soon. And then I'm going to stick to that idea that there is going to be not a significant dip, but I could see us testing that 40K level, maybe a little bit below, heading back down to 38.5, maybe again, like we saw a little bit earlier this month, or a little bit later last month. But I also think that we will have a bit of an explosion leading up to the halving. About the month before the halving, we'll level off and maybe fall a little bit in April and in May. And I think you might see a bit of a perfect storm as far as downside action in May. You're going to have the Halloween indicator. You're going to have post-halving. And let's say they start to leak some of this ETF news by that time and it doesn't get approved. You could have all three of those things happening around the same time, and you could see a significant dip going into the summer. And so I don't think that we are just going straight up through the halving. I know a lot of the people on YouTube are going to tell you that just so they can get clicks and subs. But here on this channel, we're going to keep it real with you. And to be honest with you, I can see a small dip coming before the halving and then a post-halving dip that is pretty significant if all those things line up.
Now, the key area to watch, guys, is 44K. If Bitcoin can get above 44K, I think it's going to avoid that downfall below 40. And that's the weekly close you want to look at. Now, if we close below 41, I think that the 38 is a realistic possibility there. With the 38 comes even more opportunity. However, like we said, you're seeing these alts kind of run independently right now. We'll just have to wait and see. The bottom line is you can't time it perfectly. Even if you bought Chainlink right now, and I would probably wait, and it went down to 16 again, are you going to be sad when it hits 30 in April? Probably not. Okay. So, you'd probably have wanted to buy it at 14, but again, you can't time these perfectly. Solana a few months ago, you're getting it in the 70s. And so now probably not seeing that. And so, yes, there'll be dips, but are they going to be dips back to where these things were last summer? No, they're not headed down that far. So it's kind of tricky. It really depends on your risk and tolerance. But again, watch for the weekly close to see if Bitcoin gets above 44K. If this week and next week we don't go above 44K, I do think going to be correct. However, if, and this is a major if, Bitcoin closes next week or even this weekend above 44K, I think you could see an early, and this is where the data gets thrown out because you're not seeing the selling pressure from the ETF, and you're seeing now some of these companies advertise the Bitcoin ETF, and you've probably got some crypto Super Bowl commercials about ready to hit in about the next 9 days. I think you could see a surprise earlier. We might be surprised. You're talking about a buildup, and April 20th is the date we're looking at right now for the Bitcoin halving. Instead of waiting till March for things to heat up, they might heat up in mid-February. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it's not out of the question. And if that happens, you're talking probably about Bitcoin well above 60K before the halving. I do believe that Bitcoin will hit 50 by the end of the month of March. Feel pretty strongly about that, at least minimum. But I could see 60K Bitcoin going into April if the right conditions exist.
Again, I said way back when we were at like 25 and you were like, I could see us at 40. I was like, I don't think we're going to get to 40. So I'm not going to shoot down this idea this time. But to me, that kind of movement in that short term seems a little bit outlandish. However, we are headed into the halving. You're right. We do have a lot of public attention on it. And so I could see a thesis where you might wipe out a little bit of my dip leading into the halving with stuff like that. But I'm going to still stick to my thesis where we're going to have that halving based, or we're going to have that dip, and then we're going to have a strong lead up to the halving, and then we're going to have another buy the rumor, sell the news at the halving. Especially, like I said, if they also reject an ETF around that time.
No rate cuts in March, Mr. FOMO, like we thought maybe would happen, but they really opened the door for rate cuts in the summer. So you know what that means. This fall, starting in August through could be amazing.
That would be really beautiful, right? If we had a huge dip in the summer and then they started cutting rates and we had an explosive fall, that would give us an opportunity to reset our portfolios in May and then come back in the summer and destroy the market.
And that's why
Just
you want to.
absolutely kill it.
That's
But
why you want to keep it understood.
one thing I wanted to say, if you didn't have Link in your bag, or if you're not holding some of these tokens when they pump, you shouldn't feel bad about that, because you can't hold every token. You can't be on top of every project. There are tens of thousands of cryptos out there. We try and keep you on top of what we can, but even sometimes we miss them, and we miss some of these pumps, and we tell them after the fact, these happen to be ones that we saw coming. We knew that were good projects. But if you're not in these projects when they pump, don't feel bad. You'll have another opportunity to get back in. That's what we're talking about here. Is we're forecasting and seeing what opportunities are coming up. And we think there's going to be more opportunities to dive into some of these projects. So don't feel bad. There's going to be more opportunity for you to make money.
Absolutely. Really quickly, this would kind of go towards your theory that, and I do probably agree with you. There'll be a little bit of a retrace here in February. Look at all these tokens that are going to unlock for people to sell. That could mean if you are holding these, just be aware there might be a lot of volatility. A little bit originally when this first happens, normally there's some downside volatility, but it does create opportunity and a great chance for a rebound. Just a few weeks later. So just be aware if you hold some of those tokens that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to sell that haven't had those. And there's a long list of those. And so that's something you want to be aware of. So if Bitcoin does go below 40 and all these tokens unlock, these are ones, Mr. FOMO, that I would look to get into if I wasn't.
That's the great point about this. We were talking about these token unlocks back in October, I think. These things have been forecast for quite a while, and when these tokens unlock, it's going to create loads of sell pressure on these tokens. And so what's going to happen is you should probably get rid of them before the tokens unlock, and then once they unlock and you see that sell pressure, that's when you want to jump on it. And I have a chart that I'd like to share. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. And I'm going to show you a token that recently unlocked and all the sell pressure that came after that. Let me bring up Jupiter here. So if you can see that there, it opened at 127. And as soon as people got those tokens into their wallets, they began to unload them. And the price fell of over 50%. And so that's what you're going to see when people get these tokens in their hands, is you're going to see them absolutely unloading these tokens. And this is when you want to pick these tokens up. Like right now, I'm looking for places to buy the actual Solana Jupiter token. Even though the market cap is all the way up to almost 900 million, I'm still going to look for places to put this one into my portfolio, because I think this one, as far as dexes or exchanges are concerned, or swaps are concerned, I think this is going to be a big one. And so right now you might want to be looking at this one, because this token unlocked already this week, and there's plenty of room for that to grow.
Absolutely. So guys, keep it here. Keep it locked and loaded on Teaching Crypto. Any way you could help us, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, bell notification, share. We would greatly appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you later.
See ya.